Hello and welcome to the Medill NBA Draft Preview 2017. I'm Allie Berger alongside my experts for the night, Mike Davis and Jay Bethay. Welcome, guys.
Thanks.
The NBA Draft is a few hours away and there's still a lot of uncertainty to be discussed. Who will go in the top 5? Will Jimmy Butler stay in Chicago? And what are some of the biggest potential moves that could change the landscape by the end of the night? We'll break it all down and throw out to our reporters in New York and Chicago to give you the most up-to-date looks at the future of the NBA. Let's begin with the draft as it is set right now. As it stands, the 76ers traded the Celtics for the first pick, bumping Boston down to the 3rd. The Lakers will be the 2nd pick, then the Phoenix Suns at 4, and my hometown team, the Sacramento Kings, at number 5. Mike, should we expect the order to stay this way throughout the night?
Absolutely not. I can't remember a time in draft history where there's been so much conversation about trades, more so than the actual prospects. So I fully expect teams like the Knicks, where Porzingis is now on the trading block, even teams with 2 picks. Like, I think a team like the Kings could even package maybe a couple of their picks if they're falling in love with somebody to move up. So I think there's going to be tons of movement.
How about you, Jay?
I agree with Mike. I think that the Timberwolves possibly trade and try to get Jimmy Butler. I also think that the Celtics could move back in the order. So I think that there's a few options there for teams to trade and try to move up or move down in the draft.
Great. And so who do you see, as of the top 5 slots right now, who do you see fitting into those teams at this moment?
Well, that's what's so difficult to guess right now, because this is such a deep draft, and we could be looking back in 15 years and say, you know what? Dennis Smith, who was drafted at 9, could end up being the best player in this entire draft. So I think for the first time in a very long time, I'm thinking back to maybe 96, we're seeing players who really could end up, we could have all-stars going throughout the top 10. So I think we're going to see a lot of the same names. We're going to see Dennis Smith. We're going to see guys like Jonathan Isaac. I think we're going to see a lot of teams falling in with different types of players. I mean, who do you think could be coming around there?
I think that I agree, but I think that it's pretty set. I think obviously the number 2 are more likely locked in, but I do see the order staying very similar to what prospects are saying, with Tatum, Fox, and Josh Jackson going off the board 3, 4, 5, or somewhere in that order. Maybe those 3 are exchangeable, but I do see them being the next 3 off the board after the first 2.
Thanks, guys. Well, for an on-the-scene perspective, we go to Katie Winge in New York at the Barclays Center. Katie, welcome in.
Thanks, Allie. Yeah, one of the 2 things that I'm really looking forward to and expecting to see tonight here at the Barclays Center is the number 1 and the number 2 pick. Now, those are 2 picks that I'm fairly certain are pretty set in stone at this point, unless something ridiculous happens. With the trade, the Celtics and the Sixers now have that number 1 pick, and they're going to go with Markelle Fultz. That's pretty much set in stone at this point. And I had an opportunity to talk with Tim a little bit yesterday. I asked him about his draft experience so far, and actually asked him, can you even believe that you're about to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft? And he just kind of shook his head at me and smiled and said, no, I honestly can't believe it. Now, looking forward to that number 2 pick, it is most likely going to be Lonzo Ball going to the Lakers. But things really are going to get interesting when it comes to that 3rd pick that the Celtics have. And they're going to look for a wing to round out that dynamic duo with Isaiah Thomas. They're probably going to go with either Josh Jackson out of Kansas or Jason Tatum coming out of Duke. They're both different. Jackson, on one hand, is more athletic. He needs to refine his shooting a little bit for the NBA. But Jason Tatum debatably has the best skill set for the NBA out of any guys in this draft. But he's a little bit lower on the athletic spectrum as far as these draftees go. But one thing's for sure, Allie. I mean, with the week that we've had with NBA action, I'm expecting some surprises here tonight.
So, Katie, who do you think can make the most immediate impact that we haven't really heard as much about in the mainstream media?
I mean, one of the people that I'm really looking forward to, we've heard a little bit about him, is De'Aaron Fox from Kentucky. I mean, I had a chance to sit down with him earlier this week, and he's just a great person. He's fun. He's very personable. He really shows who he is, especially interacting with the media. And I think those characteristics translate to on the court as well. He's going to be a great leader no matter where he goes. He's quick. He's a playmaker. Whoever gets him in that guard position is definitely going to see him as an asset. Allie?
Well, we'll have to look out for all of those names tonight and where they end up. Thanks, Katie. We'll come back to New York later in the show as we get closer to the first pick. Still much to be discussed about big names in big cities. We'll talk Bulls and Knicks, options for tonight after the break.
Welcome back. Trade talk has been the hot topic this draft, even more so than the batch of incoming prospects. Reporting live from Chicago is Takuma Roback with information on Jimmy Butler. Takuma, Butler trade talks heated up early on this week. What's the expectation for Butler and the Bulls on draft day?
Well, the expectation is that if the Bulls do stand pat at the number 16 slot, that they would select a player like Zach Collins from Wake Forest. If not, if they do move Butler, there's the expectation that Josh Jackson could potentially be in play.
Now, Takuma, fans, the temperature from them, are they leaning towards holding on to Butler or getting rid of him for some great assets?
Well, as you know, we're in Chicago. We're in a Chicago Cubs city. And I think the temperature for the Bulls is lukewarm. I talked to one fan about the whole situation, and they told me that they don't want Butler traded at all, that he believes that they can be a contending team with the current cast that's intact, despite going 41-41 this past regular season. But there's one person this fan says should go, and that's head coach Red Hoiberg.
Wow. Thanks, Takuma. Now we're going to swing over to New York, where Jennifer Lee is reporting live with news on the Knicks and Kristaps Porzingis. Jen, Twitter lit up yesterday and today, trade rumors concerning Porzingis. Tell me, do you think a trade is likely to happen today?
Yeah, Mike, if you know any Knicks fans, give them a hug right now because things seem to be going from bad to worse for this franchise. Phil Jackson finally confirmed that the Knicks are listening to the options that they're getting from other teams for Porzingis. Now, all of this stems from Porzingis missing his exit meeting with Jackson in April, something that Jackson is still upset about. He says he's never had it happen to him in at least 25 years of being in the NBA.
Wow.
Now, that being said, obviously this would be a devastating blow for the fan base, and some Knicks fans that I've spoken to even believe that drafting Porzingis in the first place is maybe the only good thing that Jackson has done for this team.
So,
Mike?
Jen, what do you think it would take to actually move up into the draft? I mean, what kind of assets would they have to get in order to pull the trigger on a Porzingis trade?
Yeah, so far he says he's not impressed with any of the offers he's gotten so far. But sources are saying that what Jackson is looking for is a top 4 draft pick in addition to at least one superstar or significant asset in order for him to deal away the unicorn. Back to you.
Wow. Well, avoid that dysfunction in New York if you can. Thanks for the report, Jen. After the break, Jay and Allie will be back with us, and we'll take a look at our podcast team. Stick with us.
This is not the only draft preview show at Medill. Our podcast team is also working hard. Juliana Allegrati, Andreas Waters, Carl Bullock, and Cy Benefield have a sneak peek for us.
Okay, you guys, let's gaze into our draft crystal ball a little bit with some bold predictions for something we think is going to happen tonight at the draft. Cy, start with you.
So first off, I want to start off with my bold prediction will be Dennis Smith will win Rookie of the Year. 1, he's from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Shout out to J. Cole.
Dreamville, Fayetteville.
2, the man averaged 18 points per game in the ACC, which is very difficult to do. 1 Freshman of the Year over other potential lottery picks. And 3, explosive. He reminds me of Eric Bledsoe and a combination of Eric Bledsoe and Damian Lillard.
What team is he going to win Rookie of the Year with?
The New York Knickerbockers.
Ooh, hot take. All right.
There's no way Phil Jackson can mess that up.
Carl, what's your bold prediction for tonight's draft?
So I think it's a foregone conclusion that Lonzo Ball is going number 2 overall to the Lakers. So I'm going to go on the limb and say Lonzo Ball gets drafted and becomes the 3rd best passer in the NBA behind LeBron James and the point guard Chris Paul. You have a guy comes in, can play off the ball, on the ball, not ball dominant, but is so good and has so much fun creating for others, he just blows everybody away.
So to clarify for everybody out there, is this now as far as in numbers, or is this just pure talent?
Just pure talent. But he will average 8 assists a game.
The eye test is going to show you.
The eye test is going to show you.
8
Lonzo's
assists
the
per
third
game
best
is a big number.
8 assists as a rookie is a big number.
That's a huge number.
All right, Dre, what do you think is going to happen tonight?
All right, so they took the early picks in the draft. I guess I'll take it a little bit later.
All right.
So late in the first round or mid-second round, I think we're going to find the draft's biggest sleeper, and it's going to be Juwan Evans, sophomore point guard out of Oklahoma State. I think he's the fastest player in the draft. If you can find somebody faster, you're going to have to sell me on it because there's not one. And he's arguably got the best handle in the class, especially for someone going 100 miles per hour all the time. You're not going to get the ball from him too often. And he finished second in the Big 12 in scoring with 19 points per game. He also had 6.4 assists to go with 3 rebounds and 1.8 steals. So I think he's a pretty solid player in a conference it's a pretty big basketball conference. So I think he showed that he can be pretty good. And defensively, while he wasn't like some tenacious lockdown defender, I think he has the mentality of somebody who could be a good defender because he's a willing defender and he accepts the challenge.
It's half the battle.
That's
Pretty
half
well
of it.
called. Balance energy like a
And I
drink.
think he's going to go to the Chicago Bulls.
No, that's not going to happen. Don't edit that.
Now, Allie and Mike talk about the actions of the Sixers and the Kings in the top 10 picks. Allie, your thoughts. The Kings have draft picks 5 and 10. What do they do?
Well, Jay, as you know, Mike, you know, and every basketball fan out there, honestly, that's been watching over the last 10 years, the constant theme with the Kings is rebuild, something that they continue to do. But the biggest thing right now is that they have 3 great young guys in their core, in Cauley Stein, Labissiere, and Hield. So they need to build around that, and they need to start at the number 5 pick with a point guard. That's going to be essential for them in order to build up this team. I definitely think that the best guy to go in that spot would be De'Aaron Fox, if he's still available at the 5. As we all know, Fultz and Ball probably won't be there by the number 5 pick, so that would definitely be the best option for them. In addition, I think with the number 10 pick, they need a shooter. They need somebody who can score all over the floor, and I think that Luke Kennard could be that guy. He should be available at that number 10 spot, and he's been showing in all of his workouts during this whole draft season that he is able to shoot from every spot on the floor.
And if there was a draft where you would want the 5th, 2 picks in the top 10, the 5 and 10 pick, this is the draft.
Awesome. And Mike, what are your thoughts? The Sixers are trying to pursue another first-round pick. What do you think are their options there?
Well, firstly, trust the process. I'm a Sixers fan like you. And I mean, this has been a long time coming, and I feel like finally they're putting the wheels in motion. They traded up to get Fultz, and now I think they like some players here. It's a deep draft, and they want to get back into the first round. They have 4 second-round draft picks in a very deep draft. So, I mean, they might have to give up all 4 to get back into the first round, but it would be worth it. I think there's a lot of guys they could target. They need shooting. A guy like Kennard would be great for them. I don't think he'll be there, but I could see them packaging all those second-round picks to get back into the first, definitely.
Okay. And as we wrap up, a couple important questions for the both of you. What are the interesting things that you all would like to see tonight in the draft?
Well,
I'll start with you, Mike.
I think it would be fantastic if Lonzo Ball doesn't go to the Lakers. Just because the backlash that would occur and how Twitter would react. I mean, just to see what LeVar Ball would have to say
Hit
about
the look on his face.
it would
when
just
they
be
cut to him.
tremendous. Now, at the same time, I do think, Lonzo going to the Lakers is a great narrative to begin with. But for him to just wind up in Sacramento would be amazing. Vlade and LeVar Ball, that's a reality show. I'd watch that.
I feel like he could push Vlade around a little
Oh, yeah. I could push Vlade around, basically.
And Allie, what is the most interesting thing you're looking forward to seeing tonight in the draft?
Ironically, I want to see what fans get upset about. If we all remember from the 2015 draft, nobody wanted Porzingis in New York. You remember we were just talking about a little while ago, the little boy crying.
Yeah, he was my cousin. No, not really. But people sympathize with him.
Exactly, and now they don't want him to leave. So I want to see that guy that a team is so upset about and then hopefully watch him progress over time. I think that'd be a really cool story to see start tonight.
Awesome. That's all we have on the NBA Draft Preview. Catch us with more Medill Sports Reports next time. I'm Jay Bethay for Mike Davis and Allie Berger. Enjoy the draft.